If you want to use one of the most powerful yet least discussed influence tools, today I'll show you how. But first, most people try to avoid awkward silences almost at all costs. And that's exactly the reason why most people don't use them enough. And exactly the reason why almost no one is actually teaching how to use them as a tool. However, the challenge of using them is exactly the reason why they are so powerful. The reason I'm calling them awkward silences is not because you have to feel awkward when you are having them, and not even because you want the other person to feel awkward when you're having them. It's just because basically there are two types of silence, and both of them can actually be used as influence skills. The first one, which we will not discuss today, is the very short silences. Let's say less than 2 or maximum 3 seconds. These can come handy to create drama or tension while you're telling a story, or giving the other person some time to realize what you were saying, conveying that what you were saying is actually very, very important. You see what I did there? The kind of silences we will discuss in this video in depth is the longer silences, at least 5 seconds and maybe up to a few minutes. Using these kind of silences in conversations might be a little bit intimidating at first, but if you're using them with the right body language, when you'll try it, you'll be addicted. Because it works and it's extremely powerful. And you can actually use it to create beautiful things with people you like, or simply get a better deal. The first example we'll discuss in this video will be kind of a business or negotiation example, but later on we'll discuss how to use those silences with people we like, with our friends, our families, even on dates. So let's say you're negotiating with someone and he's just made his offer. He just explained what he's going to give you and he named his price. Usually people respond in one out of two ways. The first way is to simply accept, to say yes, and that's great if the deal they're offering you is great for you. And the other way is actually trying to explain why the other person should give you a better deal. Give them all the details, the reasons, and that's usually, it might work, but that's usually putting the other person on the defense. The thing is, if you actually want to have a long-term relationship with this person, a business relationship I mean, this approach might have some consequences. And there is a better way, a much better way, using silences at the right time. You guessed it. All you had to do is shh, be quiet. It will obviously not always work, but for most people, the few seconds after they're making their offer is the most stressful part of the entire sales conversation. You being quiet will actually build up the stress even more, and subconsciously they'll want to do everything to release it. So if they'll have a way to improve the deal for you so you'll say yes, they'll actually do everything to do that, even if it will make them work harder later. For example, it's just like if we're hungry, we're having this tension in our body. Even if you want to be healthy, let's say you're on a diet or something, and you're really, really hungry, if the only place you can get food only serves pizza, most people will not be able to hold on and they will have this pizza, even though they might have to actually make a 15 minutes jog after it just to burn those calories. You see, in almost all areas of our life, unless we're discussing the person's top values, if we have this pressure inside us, we'll try to do everything and anything we can just to release it. So a business person or a salesperson will usually release this stress by feeling the silence with a better offer, a better price, some sort of a bonus or something extra he can actually give you. Just try it the next time you're negotiating with someone about anything and you'll thank me later. And if you want to send me a check for the discount you got, I won't resist. But having a better deal or more of the product is not the only thing we want to get out of the open, even when people might prefer to keep it inside them. Another example is when we want to make another person more engaged in a conversation with us. It could be a family member, a friend, a colleague, or even a date. Most people's instinct is to talk as much as possible about as many subjects as possible, so the other person might find something to relate to, might find something that interests them, so that they will be more engaged in the conversation. And this strategy sometimes actually might work, but there's a better way. If you'll simply be quiet, some tension will be built. And if you'll resist the urge to actually feel it yourself, most people will very quickly start talking. And if you can ask them open-ended questions about what they were saying, boom, you got them engaged. Wow, that's amazing. What do you like about that? Or nice, how did you discover this? I can promise you, a short silence following with some open-ended questions about what he is saying to fill the silence will make the person 100% engaged in your conversation. And the craziest thing is, in the end of the day, in the end of the conversation, they'll actually feel like you were the interesting person. I know that for some of you it makes no sense, but give it a try. I do have to warn you that rarely when you're using this tool, people will ask you questions. People will ask you, why are you so silent? But you should not be intimidated by this. You should simply give them a direct, clear, yet a very simple answer to that question. And it depends on the situation, but you can always easily find one. Like in a business situation, you can easily, simply say, I'm thinking about it. On a date, saying, I simply enjoy my time with you might very well be the most appropriate and the most sexy thing you can possibly say. And there's always, in any situation, the answer, I'm simply curious to what else you're going to say about this. If you think that you know a lot about influence, but find yourself often like coming out of conversations disappointed because only few minutes or few hours later, you're saying to yourself, I should have said that, I should have did that, because you simply did not use what you already knew, you did not use the influence tools you already possess, you should totally check out the video on the card in the top of this video, because on that video I actually explain a 3-step process that will take you step by step to implement the tools that you already know, including this one. But it doesn't have to be a skill or a tool you've learned from me. Any skill or tool, an influence skill or tool you've learned in your life, you could actually use this process to make it a natural habit that simply flows out of you naturally and authentically. And remember, influencing people is not always about what you're saying. It's a multi-layered subject with many, many tools. And if you liked this video, I'd really appreciate it if you'll give it a thumbs up. And if you want to get notified when I upload new videos about influence, productivity, leadership, and purpose, all you have to do is press the subscribe button right next to this video, so we can stay in touch. So thank you very much and see you on the next video.